Welcome to Brown and Black, where we take a look at race and pop culture through a brown and black lens. My name is Jack Rico.
And I'm Mike Sargent. On today's show, we take a deep dive into AI, arguably the most controversial and life-altering topic of our age. Plus, we talk to tech visionary and founder of Black Girls Code, Kimberly Bryant, AI filmmaker Hooroo Jackson.
And we will share with you an AI performance that will give you a glimpse of what is to come in the near future.
This is Brown and Black.
Mike, as you know, AI is the most talked about conversation of our era. But how will creators of color deal with this new technology, and will it create more obstacles for them?
Generative AI is taking over Hollywood. It can already make movie trailers.
In the quaintest corner of Middle-earth, embark on an epic journey unlike any you've experienced before.
Songs.
Got me acting hella thotty, so excited, so exotic. I'm a seasoned professional.
Books. And even create human-like fashion models. But in a world where AI can easily create the content we consume, what will happen to actual human artistic expression? In particular, that of the creator of color.
In preparing for this episode, we decided, why don't we ask AI how AI will affect creators of color in the future? And we decided, let's use the most well-known artificial intelligence chatbot, ChatGPT. So we asked it, if AI is technically machine learning, can a machine learn to produce authentic seeming stories, music, art? Will the input of artists of color become an algorithm that can be replicated as well? It had quite a bit to say on the subject.
Kind of scary. It's a scary thing to have this type of technology out there, because I think that the first thing you ask yourself is, what happens if a technology this powerful falls into the wrong hands? I know it sounds like a science fiction movie, like a superhero movie, and this is the villain, it's Terminator, right? But are they really villains, or are they just assistants and tools like we've been seeing since the dawn of technology and the Industrial Revolution?
Well, if you saw Oppenheimer this summer, then you know the answer to that question. I don't really think it's a question of wrong hands or right hands. I think it comes down to us, meaning, right now Intel has a platform to spot deep fakes.
Right.
Okay, that's like, it's new technology. So we need technology to show us what is actually technology. There's a watermark for authenticity.
That is crazy. And so I guess, is AI to you friend or foe?
I think it's both. I think it's friend and foe. I think it's a frenemy, because I think there's, on the one hand, it's something that we can use and help us and assist, and we're already used to it. We already have AI in our lives, that whether we think about it or not. But what I'm concerned about is whether we'll stop thinking, we'll stop discerning, whether, if you've got a Sam Jackson AI, why do you need to hire Sam Jackson?
Well, that's the thing. It's, will Sam Jackson allow himself to do this? I mean, we've been seeing Salvador Dali in Florida already has his estate gave permission to not only use his face, but to use his voice. And that manipulation can be quite scary, but also fascinating. And I think that the conflict with us is a moral conflict, it's an ethical conflict, and it's an artistic one, especially for the person of color, because, come on, the system doesn't really allow us to thrive in the ways we could, more like dominant groups do. So if AI is going to be the jury and judge, in this case, what does that mean for the creator of color? Are there any concerns on your part?
Well, there are a lot of concerns, and I'll tell you part of the reason why, because it comes down to, how is AI being programmed? Who's putting in that information, and what information is it getting? I did a little experiment. I took one of those AI generators where you just give it a phrase and it creates a piece of artwork.
Right.
So I put in, science fiction secret agent in the future. It gave me this beautiful graphic of an Asian woman in a spacesuit in space and whatnot. But then I put African American secret agent science fiction. And this is the graphic it showed me.
Oof. Okay, so if that's what's putting out, there's definitely some major concerns here. Now, my last thing, job displacement. I think this is a conversation that a lot of people are having because it does create a sense of anxiety, Mike. Look, if knowledge base, all these articles are talking about how knowledge-based jobs in Hollywood, including the studio executive, the guy who's making decisions, the guy who's going on a gut feeling.
That's the guy who should be replaced.
That's the dude that needs to be replaced.
Exactly.
Because essentially, AI could do a much better job in decision making. It can take the history of cinema and actually apply it as context for what kind of movie should happen. And now the question is, go for it.
No, I was going to say, because what you're saying, that's the danger. You're saying an AI could do a better job. Like, okay, who says it could do a better job? If you yourself are saying, like, we've seen movies where, you saw the Indiana Jones movie and your review was like, AI could have written a better movie. Yeah. Well, as soon as we start thinking like that, well, then why not let AI? And then why not let AI do a new song from a dead rapper or a new Celia Cruz song or a new anything? Anything from our culture can be co-opted.
Right.
That's the danger. That's the scariness.
We've seen Tupac holograms. We've seen Selena holograms. They've been talking about taking these holograms on tour. We're now, you saw the package.
Holograms on tour.
Holograms on tour.
Just let that sink in for a
I
second.
know. Instead of seeing Taylor Swift do an Eras tour, we might see 50 years from now a Taylor Swift who's young, right? At 20, stuck there forever doing hologram tours for the world because of nostalgic purposes. So there is so much here to unpack, to see evolve, that I can't wait to talk to some of our guests today.
No. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what our guests have to say about these topics, because I do think these are the topics of our age. This is a shift in culture. The question is, will we be left out?
It's a scary thought, Mike. Well, next up, an interview with visionary leader in technology, founder of Black Girls Code and the Black Innovation Lab, Kimberly Bryant. As artificial intelligence continues to advance, there are very real concerns and fears around being replaced by AI. It was a central issue in last year's SAG Writer Guild strike. But what kind of additional concerns should creators of color have from this rapidly evolving technology?
Our next guest has, in her own words, dedicated herself to harnessing the power of technology for meaningful change. She's the founder of Black Girls Code, and her most recent venture, Black Innovation Lab, is designed to, again, in her own words, nurture future innovators who will drive lasting generational transformation.
We are very excited to welcome tech trailblazer Kimberly Bryant to the Brown and Black TV show. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you both for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So let's begin painting the picture of where we are right now. The biggest conversation we are having in America is artificial intelligence. But we know that artificial intelligence right now feels like a blank canvas. It's a new country to do something with it. And I wanted to ask you, AI ethics right now, how crucial is it for people of color specifically? What does a doomsday scenario look like where there is no AI ethics? Is AI the new colonizer?
I think that is a very interesting question. I think it certainly could become the new colonizer. When we think about artificial intelligence, it really is not a new technology. So artificial intelligence has certainly been in the research bench and research labs for several decades now. I think it has become more common because of generative AI and these large language models that have been common in things like ChatGPT and things that everybody is using every day. So it's become more, I want to say, prevalent to the common person, but in research, it has been around for some time. But I think the interesting point about this concept of could it become a colonizer is because in those research labs, both then and now, you don't see a lot of diversity. So I want to say that, you know, there's very few people of color that are actually the ones that are creating these algorithms and teaching the artificial intelligence algorithm how to create these tools. And that is what I think is the risk. You know, like I often utilize this quote by Douglas Rushkoff, who's a futurist, a well-known futurist of code or be coded. And I think about that from this lens of, if we are not the ones that are actually creating the code, then we will be the ones that are manipulated by it. And that is even more prevalent with a powerful tool like artificial intelligence, and we think of how it can become the one that actually is the driver of all the things that we're using today. I think that is the risk, is that if we are not able to both understand this technology and even be the ones that are creating it, we will be the ones that will be manipulated and utilized by the technology itself.
Well, something else, you know, you mentioned research, and I think that is specifically a field that is going to be completely transformed by AI. And as you know, recently Tyler Perry and the CEO of Google have all talked about the risks and how many jobs potentially will be lost. One of the things that you're doing with your new venture is investing in, you know, innovators, literally, people who are going to do things with technology. I guess the question I have is, what is the risk now of how transformational, like people will, for instance, I think artisans, people who would have spent money, years going to college, going into debt to learn a field that's going to be decimated by AI. And I just want to know what your thoughts are on it, specifically for people of color who have been struggling to get into those fields. I mean, on the one hand, we have them dismantling DEI, so they don't have the opportunities maybe to even get that education, but now those fields are going to change. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think one of the things about both Black and brown people, or folks from marginalized communities, is that we have always had this very strong and powerful creative class. Like, we are creatives, and we
shift the culture.
We shift the culture. And so when we think about the potential risk of artificial intelligence being able to go into the ecosystem, and tech ecosystem, and pull and replicate this masterpiece by Basquiat, let's say. What does that mean when now this masterpiece by Basquiat is being created in a millisecond by an artificial intelligence, and we lose the ability of really, I want to say, even motivating the next generation of Basquiat? So there is a tremendous risk in terms of future creative classes and even the past having their work stolen, literally, going back to this conversation about colonizing, by an artificial intelligence that can recreate. It doesn't matter. Like, we don't need Basquiat to
Why do we
actually
need
be
to
in this
hire?
play.
Yeah.
Why do we need
Why do we need to
Basquiat?
hire
Why do we
human
need to
to
go
do
to a museum and looking at Basquiat when I can create it on my computer? And so when I think about it, and even that high level, looking at it from that very, very obtuse lens, what happens in day-to-day uses of creative technology when we now are able to eliminate whole classes of work skills craftsmen because we can do it with the click of a few keys.
Right. Kimberly, last question then. If that's the case then, for people of color, the new generation that is graduating and heading into the workforce that's being shaped by AI, how do we stop being the consumers of AI to being the architects of it?
Well, I think that's always the question when it comes to technology in general. But the issue is that we don't even have the basic toolkits of technology in many marginalized communities. We don't even have broadband access readily dispersed across the U.S. So if you can't even get access to the tools, how can you even then be able to control the tools? So I think that this issue is about digital rights and really confirming what digital rights means for those that live on the margins, right? We have a right to not only have access to these tools, but being able to have the knowledge to use these tools we can't run away from it. It's not
Right.
going anywhere, but we have to run towards it and also demand that we have the access, the rights, the tools, the knowledge to be able to utilize those tools to the best that needs of our communities.
Demand.
Demand. It's a right.
And we have to adapt or perish.
Adapt or die.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. We will definitely want to have you back because I don't think that this is a topic that is going to go away anytime
Absolutely.
soon.
Kimberly, thank you for being on the Brown and Black TV show. Up next, we talk to indie filmmaker Hooroo Jackson about his experience creating the first movie entirely generated using AI and what its future is in cinema.
Imagine a world where a creator of color, aided by artificial intelligence, could challenge a Hollywood studio. It's no longer a dream. It's a reality thanks to trailblazers like our guest today, Hooroo Jackson. He's the mastermind behind Window Seat, the first ever all AI generated feature film. Let's take a look at a clip.
Can you hold my dog? Here, hold his leash.
No, wait, I never said I would. Wayne!
Whoa, boy, Tom, this isn't what you said it was.
Hold it really tight.
It was a prank email from my girlfriend.
Mate, it's blown up bigger than that. This is a toxic workplace takedown.
What do I do?
Step number 1, don't apologize. Anything you do will just drag you deeper, so do nothing.
That's not helpful at all, Wayne.
Control the dog, be tough with it.
There's no way this is a service dog.
Just grip its collar.
Wait, I didn't say I would.
Grant Wool here, just ignore that. We're working out some electrical kinks here.
Tom,
Millie, why are you making that face?
they're saying you had a chat room.
Millie, take the window seat.
A chat room where you talked shit about girls.
Window seat. Clouds. Come see the funny, pretty clouds, Millie.
Well, Window Seat takes us on a psychological journey 30,000 feet above the ground that pits a tech mogul against his high school bully in a mid-air psychological showdown, all brought to life by the magic of AI.
But the real question is, what does this mean for us as viewers, as artists, as a society? To answer that question and more, Hooroo Jackson himself. Hooroo, welcome to Brown and Black.
Hi, great to be here. Nice to see you.
Okay, Hooroo, first of all, congratulations on Window Seat. I mean, this is a historic moment, for many filmmakers who currently are looking at their possibilities in the industry dwindle because of what's happening, because of the disruptions in AI, technology, streaming, revenues, distribution models, etc. But you were able to make the first ever generated AI film. Where did the idea come from? Why did you want to do something AI as opposed to a traditional film like most people are doing?
Well, I want to say first that I am these people. I am the frustrated filmmaker. I'm kind of the voice from the nether that's rising up against this industry in a sense, because after my first film, Amy in a Cage, we did dozens of pitches to these Hollywood executives, and it never goes anywhere because it's specifically meant to let this old system of who you know, what your last name is, who your friend of a friend is, and I didn't have any of that. I'm just a total independent filmmaker. So for years I thought this isn't going to happen, but I never quit. And then AI came, and I just struck it like a lightning bolt. I didn't hesitate, and I immediately made my movie because I had so much frustration, bitterness, pent-up energy. And if this is a landmark movie, a review said it's not Snow White. Well, it's not meant to be Snow White. It's the anti-Snow White. It's the kind of movie that would never be financed by studios, by executives, by the gatekeepers of that industry. So,
well, I have to wonder, the bully, if it's not representative of something else, but walk us through it a little bit. Like, what was your process? How did you decide what software to use? How long did this take us? Tell us a little bit about how you made this.
The technicals, these are all tools that are available. And it's Runway. It's a video generating called Runway for video, for audio that's called 11 Labs, and Runway also lets you edit the audio too. It's miraculous new tool for filmmakers, and it's just getting better every day. And there's also Chat GPT that lets you like. I brainstorm with it. I say, give me some funny dad jokes that the pilot can say over the intercom, and it gave a whole bunch of funny little lines I did.
Huru, let me ask you something, because I asked this question to Robert Rodriguez, also an indie filmmaker who pretty much is multi-skilled, multi-hyphenated. And I asked him, because he is Mexican-American and a director of color, if he felt that it was his responsibility. And I ask you, do you feel that as a Iranian filmmaker, a filmmaker of color, it is your responsibility to only create films of color, narratives of color? That way we can uplift our talent, our voices. Do you feel that responsibility that you got to create only stories of color?
I think a little bit, yeah. I mean, one of the characters in the movie, Addison, is this corporate executive kind of hotshot who weaves into the narrative of this cancel culture situation that's happening. And she's a woman of color. So I wanted to make the best character a woman of color. I don't want this to go backward. I want it to go forward, you know.
Well, AI has been a central theme in pop culture, from Ex Machina to Westworld. How do you feel Window Seat adds a new perspective to this conversation?
Well, it's going from a painting of something to being in the painting. It's going from the abstract to the actual. And I was resisting this Borg thing, the Star Trek concept of the Borg, the collective joining into a machine. And
it's futile to resist. Just so you...
Yeah, exactly. But what you find is you see how the Borg is going to get you now. It's going to say that thing you wanted, that thing you never thought you could have, you specifically can have it. It's going to show you that. And who's going to say no? Who's going to say that I want a life that I don't want? Who's going to resist when it gives you everything you want? And this is something that when you're facing it, it's totally different than you thought, even if you're ideologically opposed to it. So it's going to be crafty. I think people resisting AI and all the deep sci-fi implications of that are going to have a bigger trouble with it than they thought to resist.
Huru, thank you so much. The name of the movie is called Window Seat. And next up, an AI performance of Soulmates Not Found, a narrative that blurs the lines between reality and AI. And welcome back. On today's show, we have talked about AI and its implications for creators of color. We have seen a film made completely by AI. And now we want to share with you something very special, an AI performance by some recent graduates of CUNY.
Angry Fish Theater is an experimental theater group devoted to bringing the spotlight to innovative underground artists and socially relevant work at the intersection of art, science, and everyday environments.
So Natalia, you're the writer-director. You got to tell me what this show is about, because it seems so unique and so interesting. And just hearing about it, it sounds like the creative process might have been very interesting. So what is the show about, and when did the idea of using AI in your storytelling come to be?
So the show is set in the near future, hopefully near future, where we get our audience on board of a flight operated by an AI pilot. And not only that, but they also get to see it next to their soulmates, because the algorithms are so advanced, they allow you to actually have an enjoyable seatmate and flight mate.
AI, a friend, not a foe.
That's very interesting. Well, after this experience, I'm very curious now, do you think Or what do you think the opportunities are, especially for creators of color and women with AI? And should they embrace it or be afraid?
Yeah. I think like what Natalia mentioned right now, it's kind of controversial actually at this moment and within the community, with our performing arts community. But as we are embracing it as women, immigrants, women of color, we think AI, as we introduce AI to the world, we think that we can use our background, we can use our cultures to create AI and inculcate it or introduce it in our performances. You know, as an indigenous woman, I've seen AI generate images of like civilizations before colonizations, and I think we can use that in the performing arts as well. So when Natalia brought this show to us, I said we should do this. This is awesome and this is great.
And that's all we have time for today, but clearly AI is a topic we will be coming back to in the future.
I know, Mike. There's this fear that AI is going to replace us, like with avatars. Who's ever heard such a crazy thing, right?
That's ridiculous. No, who would actually create an avatar of you and I to host a show? I think that's ridiculous.
I know, especially called, you know, brown and black. I mean, come on. There's just no way. Hold on a second, Mike. Are we avatars in an AI universe? What's going on, Mike?
Oh my God.
Oh, this is scary. I think we should leave it here, Mike. What do you say?
I think we should. Well, I think we should go. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time
on Brown and Black.